Okay, so I'm online. I'm just going to open the chat, open the panel in case you want to be online. Give me a shout out. Okay. All right. Just making sure I'm audible. Visible. Okay. All right. All right. If you are watching me online, give me a thumbs up, smiley, and I'm going to be shouting out for you. Okay, welcome to today's episode. We are on episode number 56 officially, unlocking emotional intelligence using brain skills. Today is going to be a very important session for all the business entrepreneurs out there, even for our career employees, career leaders who are in the very important roles. We will see how we can use our brain skills to make sure that our business or the line of work that we are doing is not really focused for only small wins. Okay, so if that is so, if that is the mindset that we all have, it's time to change our gears because after pandemic, AI disruption is going on, and a lot of industries have changed their business model into hybrid, and many things have been included in with respect to technology development, product development, and research, and also the talent. So in order to be with the market, in order to embrace the market competition, and also for our sustainable success, we need to be able to think ahead, assess risks, and create that future-proof strategy, the bulletproof. Okay, as an entrepreneur, as a digital entrepreneur, and as an individual career professional, it is equally important for me also to learn a lot of things as much as you are learning. Okay, so it is a win-win for both of us. So if you are a career professional or a business entrepreneur or a leader or high stake professionals, you're churning, you're associated with some organization in some ways. So if you're rendering your work in that way, it is essential for you to also think ahead and plan, forecasting all your pitfalls and risks, and so that you create that future proof solid process or technology or product which is going to have a sustainable growth. Okay, and if you're a full-time mom, it is equally important for you to also gain this kind of a solid insights how a business entrepreneur will think in terms of investing, and what amount of uh, you know thought process gets into when it is planning and forecasting. So you may want to do so, model the same thing for your family goals. Okay, in respect to understanding who needs this, practically everybody, even a student who can gain this kind of knowledge, insights, skills. There are a lot of young entrepreneurs coming up. Okay, so it is at this point of time, it's equally important for you to also pivot your career choices based on what is happening in the industry right now. Gone are the days where the traditional educational requirements. Now the universities, even the Ivy League universities are churning towards to understand how well a student or a graduate is able to make a presence, omnipresence. Okay, so when I'm talking about few years back when I was in corporate, we started using LinkedIn as a passive recruitment strategy channel. So I'm talking about 6 7 years before, and right now it's even more progressive. So I recently heard a friend who's a daughter, and her friend who's a boy who just got chosen to an Ivy League college by just merely showing his achievements and all his abilities through his YouTube channel. So during the interview process, so for the questions that he wanted to answer, he chose to give his YouTube links and to show his channel in terms of creating. He has already created the proof of evidence, right? People started commenting on it, people like it, and it is getting shared. So his concept, his idea is actually propelling, it's steering into some action, some performance in others. So that's all a company or a corporate would look forward for this kind of a potential in an individual. So just by showing his achievements and his abilities in order to, demonstrate his own marketing skills, his own, whatever credentials he has, he was able to put across all that in a YouTube channel. So it depends on you. It all depends on you, how you want to make use of the technology, available, and at the same time, project your abilities in, in line with the market trends. Okay. So that way it was a hack. I mean, it was an easy journey for that potential graduate and the corporate to look this person as a potential talent. So that being said, practically everybody needs emotional intelligence. And now, what we are talking is in this episode today, we're going to be talking about how smart decision making in business or in career, how do you assess that long term impact? This is again a decision making skill only, but we are taking a different angle. And I've been talking about decision making skill in the previous episodes. If you haven't watched, please do so because everything is connected. Okay. And I officially welcome you to this Unlocking Emotional Intelligence series using left brain, right brain, and both the brain strategies. And we'll see how to gear up ourselves in order to combat all the challenges relating to decision making. Okay. All right, so I'm going to be sharing my screen and let's see what we have got for today. It's going to be a little extensive and a little bit deep in order to understand the concept because even for me, it's pretty, new. There are a lot of things which is, changing in the market, and let's see what we've got for today's market trends and sustainable growth aspects. How we can use our decision-making power in order to combat the challenges, what is market throwing us, or assess the long-term impact on on whatever initiatives we are taking. Okay. So if you are in the process of taking a business decisions, which is building the future, then this episode will let you know how you're going to use your brain skills, the left brain, right, logical creativity, and your midbrain to assess the long-term impact of your choices. You're going to use tools like data analysis, financial forecasting, scenario planning, okay, to minimize risk. I'm also going to give you some real-time examples as to how experts are exhibiting their talents in these areas and how they are making it useful for their business. And we're also going to be talking about Mukesh Ambani as a case study where his visionary decision making has led to huge among us success because he's one of the richest person on the planet. He's an Indian business conglomerate, and you should know about his brain skills. Okay, it is an interesting part in this entire series. The case study is where I really get inspired and also get interested to eat their brain skills to understand how we can demonstrate the same thing in our lives. On that note, we'll see what is the understanding we have got when it comes to decision making, that too understanding the long term impact. How is our logical brain helping and the creative brain helping? So your logical brain will help you do some little bit of data analysis, financial forecasting to any kind of future outcomes. Okay. That way you can see the long term effect of it on financial terms and collecting the necessary data, logical reasoning, and not leaving any objective based data point because there needs to be a structure framework for anything we want to do, especially in business. We just cannot go wild. With an idea, with an innovation, you can still create a lot of things, and you can play around with the unknown, but only within the framework. Otherwise, it becomes an impulsive decision. Okay, it won't be a sustainable decision. And your creativity brain will help you incorporate the intuition, customer insights to anticipate market trends and evolving stakeholder needs also. That is why the left brain, right brain integration is very, very important. And that is what is emotional intelligence is all about. Emotional intelligence in business decision making is what we are going to be talking about today's topic. So we're going to use the intuition also. For example, a classic example that I would like to give you at the front itself is the Amazon Prime, the product of Amazon Prime shopping, 24 hours. How did they even forecast that that could be an existing need that time itself, or it could be an insight they are gaining from the customer's feedback that they do require something delivered at home, and that too within the span of time. So how, you know, brilliant it is to come up with an idea to breaking all the conventional approach of, delivery time minimum. The USPS or any postal services itself will take minimum period of time. But how is it happening within 24 hours time? And it's a great boon and gift for busy moms like us, right? You just have to, there's no hassle at all. Your shopping has become so very easy. It is very accessible. So that kind of, how did they tap into that kind of an intuition from the, minds of the customers? Through taking a lot of feedback and going through their data point interface input and experiences from the, customers. Everything helps. Okay. And it also has to be a sustainable feedback mechanism or touch points with the customer, because the market is also evolving and so will be their needs as well. So there has to be a parallel, tandem working patterns and convergence at many point of time. Okay. So let's see what is the benefit of you having a long-term decision making itself. It's going to have a sustainable growth. Okay. Building enduring success through strategic innovation, investments, and continuous innovation is the key word. Okay, so what we are going to do is we're going to approach the sustainable growth in order to endure the success through strategically making investment. That is, there has to be a logical approach to it. You just cannot go wildly just because the trend is happening, or just because cryptocurrency is something new and it's just the bitcoins are going everywhere. But is it relatable to your customer and to your business? Yesterday and previous episodes, we saw, how aligning to values, how aligning your goals to your core values, whether you are an individual or an organization, very, very important to have the sustainable long-term growth. In fact, yesterday we saw how parenting decision making can be made use, the strategies for you to arrive at a parenting based decision making, also using your core values, aligning your goals towards that. So aligning goals towards your core values will always act like a compass to you. Okay, if you haven't seen that episode, please do watch it. It'll have a huge, impact on you, and you will start connecting the dots. So one is logical approach towards investment. Second thing is there has to be a continuous innovation. That's why I say parallel, work patterns. Like both your logical brain and the creative brain has to work in parallel. That is how the ball gets rolling. Okay. Somewhere you stop doing this, it becomes a friction. You just cannot creatively approach, and then you don't have a budget. You're not able to look at the trends and review, get that intuition. Neither can you be so evaluative that you're only thinking about risk and not able to take that risk. It's not going to work. So both these things have to be in rolling. Then you're going to improve the risk management also. By thinking long-term decision making, you're going to improve, taking risk first of all and managing them. You're going to develop the robust, contingency plans also, because you're able to evaluate the components and the ability to take risk. You will also have a risk tolerance built. Thereby, you can manage the risk also, mitigate the risk also really well. Okay. So how you're going to do is you're going to create a contingency plan all the time and have a diversified strategies to, weather your market challenges. Right. So similarly in family also, you always have a backup plan, right? Even if it's a daily choices, handling a toddler or a schoolgoer, and the family chores, if you're a working woman, you will always have a contingency plan somewhere, right? The backup plan. Similarly, for your long-term investment and planning, family goals also have a backup plan. We all do this. But in business, it is even more required that contingency plan also have to be there in tandem with all your strategies being diversified. So you don't put your money only in one bucket. Instead, diversify. That way, for example, how Toyota's long-term focus on hybrid technology, you know, position them ahead of all the electrical vehicle trend also. Of course, there was Tesla who gained that insight and pioneered that. Okay. They went on taking that action front. That's why they were able to grab the market at that point of time. But Toyota had, had thought through and positioned them, uh, ahead of all these, that new trend coming. Okay, so that is how they even managed their risk by they know that it is still not there in the trend. Okay, they have a long time to catch up the trend. So thereby they have the contingency plan. At the same time, they were able to mitigate the risk. So there also the third point is you're going to have a stronger market position if you are able to take these both approaches in tandem. You're going to create a customer relationship, deeper customer relationship, and brand equity through consistent value delivery. So a typical example here is Apple's ecosystem. Okay, that one classic example of Apple having a touch screen, that was the biggest differentiator, right? I still remember the times when I had to transition from the normal the Android system where it was only typing, and for me to switch on to iOS, I had a mindset block of not going to the touchscreen at all. Simply for that reason, I always felt the quality of the product will go down any point of time because it's a screen touch and it might happen something. It's my own mindset block. Okay. But by the time I transitioned and then I stepped on to buying the Apple product after product after product, I become a loyal fan for them. One, for their own stability and for their development of the product, innovation behind it. Okay. So it's like the ecosystem they formed. So that is a classic example of how they lured their customer and made them sustainable. Okay. So these are advantages. Now let's talk about some disadvantage when you're constantly looking for only long term. It slows your results, correct? Long-term investments often take years to yield. It's like any bank long-term plans. If you go, right? The equity plans will always take a lot of time, right? So, of course, it will have a measurable returns, but it is testing the stakeholders' patience. So similarly, in Amazon also, just because I love these products, I want to give examples based on their experience and their, trends that they have set, the standards they have set. So when Amazon Workspace happened, the investment had happened and the product was launched way before it could even, create any traction. So there was a 7 long years of investment before even they become profitable. So for now, right now they generate billions in revenue. But imagine uh, the plight and fright of that investors. Okay. So if you are a CEO of the company, you have invested a whole lot of money on it and it is still not profitable. So by that time, I'm sure that, that angle, that particular investor or the business person would have had their contingency plans in place and diversification would also be strongly put in place. Otherwise, only depending on this particular streamline of business would have been a huge loss and they would have gone lost in the market, but they did not. Okay. So one, it will definitely slow the results because of which you need to have a diversification and contingency plans and the other benefits that we have seen. Then it also hires the risk because long-term strategies require substantial resource commitments, time involved in it, and with uncertainties also. Okay. So for example, Netflix, if you do not know their story, they initially were in the business of DVD rentals and all that. At that point of time, before 2000, it was a huge peak of success. But then slowly, they were the ones who pivoted initially for streaming, live streaming. Okay. Then they started into uh, movie streaming. And that's when they lost the existing customers because they couldn't match the customers, the company's values and the business line. And so they didn't need it. Okay. At that point of time, the need for streaming, even now, there are a lot of places in the world, they rely on traditional um, what do you call entertainment channels. Okay, although there are omni channels available, but not everybody is adaptable. Okay, For those who rely on streaming is a boon for them. But imagine as a company when they pivoted it, they would have also gone through some, wait period, testing period. They would have lost their loyal subscribers too. But it does prove to be a transformative business in the company's point of view for their future. So there is a high amount of risk, and it is unpredictable markets, right? Market disruptions can derail even the most carefully long term, laid out long term plans. For example, Kodak, a digital company, they made photography investment a lot. Okay, there are a camera company, but then their investment was huge when they could not match the market competition, when all the unexpected risk of all that smartphones were in place. Now smartphones have come to a place position where you don't look for normal cameras at all, because cameras is too, you need a hands-on carry and everything, but mobile has become all in one, future features. It helps you, like, especially for a mom like me, I just want a one gadget which satisfy all needs, right? So similarly, right now either DSLR or smartphones, that's the only differentiation. In between that, if anything comes, it's a loss. So it does have an unpredictable markets. You never know where the innovation can disrupt. So, but let's understand the importance of long-term thinking. Now you need to also weigh which one is your angle of business that you want. You want to be traditional and a very low progressive business. You might want to take the evaluative and the short-term gains. But if you want a sustainable growth and a long-term and a global wide, business range, then you have to put in this long-term thinking. Similarly, for your personal life, so it is important education, or graduation, getting into a university for your children, marriage, buying a land, investing in some rental business. Everything needs a long term thinking on it. Okay, so the loss, if you don't have it, is short term thinking can lead you to unsustainable growth, missed opportunities. Sometimes you are also lost in the game. But if you have this, it's going to build a strong foundation for future success. So statistically also, companies who is focusing on long-term decision making outperforms peers by earnings of 36% higher than what the average person earns. And their revenue growth is also expected to go higher of 47% according to a survey taken. Okay. So the time frame could be over a decade, but the long-term gain is measurable, sustainable, and it is global. Okay. So it does take time. Everything, every business for that matter, any relationship also for that matter, or anything you want to be having a long-term success, it does take time. So who's going to be benefited with long-term business thinking? Of course, we are talking about business. So entrepreneurs seeking sustainable growth. For startups, CEOs who's already into the line of business attached to a corporate association, making strategic decisions for long-term profitability. Investors who's looking for long-term returns on their capital. And of course, any individual with high-stake responsibilities, personal, professional, community, whatever it is. Okay. Let's see, where are we going to apply this long-term thinking? First thing is coming to my mind is financial investment. That is where we always think about long-term, right? As at least as an individual, as a layman, okay, or laywoman. So let's talk about two angles when it comes to financial planning for long-term thinking. One is balancing your short-term cost. That is, you're going to consider how immediate expenses can lead to future plans. See, for any decisions, there has to be a spending on time, effort, money, resources, sometimes relationship, whatever it is, there has to be a spending. So you're going to balance that spending, thinking that you're doing it for a long term. That's how you're going to be in alignment with your values, with your goals. So investing in, $10,000 in an employee training, why would a company do it? They may not even able to measure. Sometimes the people who attend the training would not be in the roles forever, right? Immediately there could be a layoff, or they could quit the company, or anything can happen. So what will happen to the return on investment made on that talent? No, that's not how it works. As a company, training and development budget are allocated as a future long-term thinking. Okay. So that when when an employee attends this kind of a training, is going to result in their increased productivity, which is resulting in project profit for profitability, overall profitability. So that is what will contribute, each and every element like this will contribute to a larger success. Typically for a renewable energy, installing solar panels. So right now the market is turning towards that energy, natural energy. But I'm talking about 10 years before the, time. So a decade before, and it's so new, right? People were full traditional conventional setup didn't require at all. We were going behind the electricity mode. But right now, people, there is no stigma. There are a lot of awareness happened, and climate change is also supporting the disasters. So people are looking for renewable energy, including the electrical vehicle and all that. Okay, even the government is regulating certain things. So now installing panels can cost $30,000 initially, but it reduces the energy bill to $5,000 annually. Imagine, annually, if there is a reduction in $5,000 as an electric, energy bill, that's a huge saving. Okay. So thereby, it can also increase the property value if you have an individual house. Of course, only in an individual house, solar panels can be installed. Imagine. So it's going to be leading you to the profitable gain only and a sustainable goal. Of course, you are adding it to sustainable factor on the planet. Okay. So long-term thinking in product development. So as a business, we need to understand the financial planning, sustainability growth, product development, talent development, and technology development. So let's see where, how we can apply all this in all these peers. So in product development, you're going to identify trends first of all. Even before you want to launch something, the ideation to will have to be steered, towards identifying the trends. You're going to monitor your customer needs and market shifts. Remember what I told about Amazon Prime. How did they even come up with an idea about 24 hours delivery? They must have gone through their previous data point. They must have analyzed and also have an intuition on the customer insights, needs, preferences based on the data they have given. You see how integrated using both the data, logical and emotional data. Similarly, Tesla recognized earlier that electrical vehicle would become mainstream and positioned themselves accordingly. Okay. So then investment in R&D is very, very critical for any business. Even if you're a very small scale business person, you also have to get into the research mode before research and development before launching anything. Even digital, this is just not for the traditional business. It is also for the digital entrepreneurs. Before you start anything, you need to be very clear with your niche and your customer needs. You need to be solving one problem of your targeted customer, for which you need to be very clear about whom you're going to serve, what you're going to serve, what you're going to solve, and how you're going to do. All these are research. Okay, you're going to commit resources to have a future focused innovation. Again, even when you want to launch something digitally so that it gives you a passive income, that also has to contribute for your long term freedom at least. Okay, you don't want to do everything on your own, and you ending up in spending more time than your passive income. So that's not freedom. Even though it is getting income for you, you shouldn't sit and do everything. Similarly, you got to find out what is future focused, methods that you can build in any business that you want to do. So typical example is Apple's ecosystem again. Long-term investment in touchscreen happened way before they launched the iPhone. How strategically they would have pivoted that. So they had, brought this touchscreen in even their, uh, earlier iMusic, iTunes, similar to iTunes, they had something to do with music also. In those areas as well, they experimented the touchscreen. Okay. And then when they launched the iPhone, the customer whom they were serving were familiar about what could be the modality. Then it became easier. Okay. Now launching and iterating is also important. After you launch also, there has to be some improvement, some flaws that you might have to fix it. Okay. So you need to be ready, adaptable, and quickly implement the loopholes also. So you're going to start with strong foundation through customer feedback. You're going to, for typical example is Amazon Kindle. They all, it all started in a garage selling books. Can you imagine? How how have they grown? They are right now making the space access to mankind. So when you look at, especially looking at the book system of business they have so many lines of business, but then talking about the books itself, how did they prepare, how did they develop the ecosystem around the books itself? Starting from ebooks, even the reading, modality, they have changed it. So a lot of, things they have developed when it comes to, 1 minute. I just took some points that I want to talk about Amazon book as such is they not only have Kindle e-readers, they also have Fire tablets, which can, you know, have a multifunctional abilities where they can read, they can have a support of other apps, even video streaming is possible, browsing is possible. It's like more of a phone, but then talking only is not there. So it's just very good for students, right? Not just that, they also have introduced something called Inscribe, where you can even write notes and it gets transferred, or um, it can be supported with, it can be exported as PDF documents, or it can be exported as an audio note. So many things that you can do with the AI also, that will also enabled. So it gives you that unlimited, in sync activities where we don't want to go out of that ecosystem, right? So that is the speciality of developing such a product where you don't want to lose your customer to go anywhere. So that kind of R&D is very, very important. And even after they uh, launch it, they're going to keep improving. That is why versions after version, updates after updates. Okay. And then when we talk about talent development, it is important when you're in corporates, when you're in business, you're not the only one who's running business. You need team. And it is important to upgrade the team as well for a long-term impact. So you're going to identify their skill gap, first of all. So especially after pandemic, things have changed. AI is disrupting, and the human approach is also, changed. So after the social media has come in, even the recruitment, a lot of process in company itself is, going through a change. So where are our the talent pool right now matching to the market competition? So you need to identify the gap. So, for example, if it's a marketing department, are they stuck with the traditional marketing gimmicks, or they are also aware of what they have to do omni-channels, omnipresence in all sales channels? If you have a digital business, then it is needless to say that you need to be equipping with social media marketing. So thereby, digital presence as well as other channels presence is also important. Then comes designing training programs according to the gaps. So you need to prepare a comprehensive learning initiatives to upskill your employees. If you find a gap in marketing itself, so you've got to prepare a digital marketing academy or something that you can even outsource that entire chunk to a a digital entrepreneur like me, or anybody who's having that kind of a coaching business, training business, or you might want to build that in your umbrella of business or corporates that you have. Okay. So that is how you're going to constantly keep upskilling your employees based on the market trends and needs. And they are going to in turn support with increased productivity and, with your profitability. Okay. Thereby, you can also implement leadership pipeline. You will figure out, based on the robust, plans that you have for your talent development, you will figure out who is matching the potential that you are requiring to be able to do some innovative disruptions. Okay. So you can identify the future leadership roles, um, typically pairing the junior people with that of your leadership programs, have some mentorship program, in your business or in your corporate line of programs. So thereby you are connecting the bridge as well as able to identify the talent within your teams. So you're going to prepare them for as a successor for different roles. Okay. So that Your pipeline is churning. It keeps churning. You don't have to look or depend on the external hire all the time, especially when there is a huge cost cutting, or when there is a lack of budgeting happens, or when there is no potential found in the market yet. So thereby you're grooming your own internal pool. Okay. Then comes strategy in long-term strategy in technology adoption. Very, very important. You're going to assess future trends. Okay. Um, there, if you have a retail stores, you're going to explore how AI powered industry, some inventory management can be adopted. I still remember I read an article where Amazon introduced the infrastructure centers because it's a certain process or monotonous, and it can always be automated, and they pioneered in it. Okay. They built Amazon centers, customer centers, for delivery, especially when the Amazon Prime was happening. They needed that infrastructure to be there, because 24 hours delivery is an insane thing at that point of time. Now it's become a norm. It's become a industry standards by itself. Okay. Thereby investing in infrastructure is also important. So you're going to build a strong technology foundation to support that future innovation. So it can be a simple thing like upgrading your interface on your website if you have a digital presence, or it could be an upgradation of the talent pool who can match the innovative happening in the industry, where they can build something internally, or you can even have a cloud-based systems to enable easier integration of all the new tools and scalability later. If you have a tight budget, then you might want to look some feasible, uh, you know, infrastructure building, both in process or with people or with technology related. Okay. And then you're going to train that workforce to deliver that. Very important. If you cannot translate what is the goal of you building all this to the people who's going to deliver, very, very important to upgrade their technical expertise, right? If they're not going to be capable of systematically doing certain things, it's going to be a loss. So you might want to introduce some literacy program or upskilling training program in order to keep themselves upgraded all the time, because they are the ones who's going to run that. Or even if you're bringing AI into your business, but the brains behind AI is what we want as a talent to be in us, right? So that is what we want to upgrade ourselves as. So then comes lastly but not least, all business initiatives are, ending up with sustainable initiatives only, either for sustainable growth for the business or contributing, as well as contributing to the planet and people around them. In that sense, if you can set a sustainable goals prior by defining clear environmental targets, so by, your long-term thinking has to be in 10 years down the lane. It cannot be a short term. Then it won't be a sustainable thing. It becomes a short game. Okay. Thereby, you're going to set that it could be any example of sustainability, maybe reducing footprint or carbon emissions, avoiding heavy vehicle transport, just go by carpooling or cycling. Just make sure that things are feasible. And by adapting that, sticking to that will definitely help people also get driven with those kind of values. Okay. Then you're going to not only set it, you're going to implement it. Okay. Some green practices inside your organization. Simple things could be installing LED lights, solar powered lights. If you're thinking to bring something at home front, if you have an individual house, maybe go with solar powered. Okay. Where you can, operate that from your app, or there are so many things which has come to induce all that to save power, to support the environment and monitor and improve it. It is very important to track that progress, to be able to make sure that you're optimizing the recycling, as well as not to increase that waste from your side. Some brain strategies to help you deal with this is, something to do with your left brain strategical skill, or some creativity skills, or sometimes you need to include both the brains. Let's see what are all those. So the first left brain skills is you're going to use scenario planning, three angles. Okay. Simple three angles is you're going to identify, first of all, the key factors involved in it. Okay, how you're going to do is you're going to map all the variables, factors involved in it. It could be market trends, technology disruptions, customer feedback, regulatory government can change the regulatory charges. So these are standards. Okay. A typical business has to lay out all these metrics based on which you're going to develop the plans. Okay. Then you're going to develop the scenarios, meaning scenario planning, meaning it is a planning by itself. You're going to prepare a scenario. For example, if there is going to be a technological disruption, what would you do? Okay. So you need to have that scenario where, let's say, technological development, maybe you need to have some AI driven tools, or train your employees towards handling that automation process, or it could be some, you know, unexpected, uh, you know, contingency plans for business continuity in terms of storms, in terms of floods. What would you do? You're going to do a scenario planning for that. You're going to prepare drills. You're going to train your employees, prepare them for that kind of situation, and also, attach work from home, remote schedules. So all these as a standard of procedures, as a plan. If you can get these scenarios as a plan, then you are using this left brain skills effectively for a long-term decisions. And thereby, you're also going to analyze the implication after it is not, it is for planning. Okay. Sometimes it can occur. Typically, the natural calamities can still occur, or there could be a real power shutdown. What would you do? The business has to continue. So after such events happens, you're going to analyze the implications as well. Okay, you're going to evaluate each scenario affecting your strategies, resources, competitive positions, everything. You're going to calculate that investment behind it, risk behind it, the wastages. That is how you're going to plan it ahead, so that you don't necessarily wait for that event to happen. But if it happens, you're going to proactively prevent. And then you're going to use your another left brain skills, where you're going to use tools like data analysis, forecasting, all that. Okay. How? By collecting relevant data. First of all, you're going to track 5 to 10 years of market trends, customer behaviors, industry forecast. That is when you're going to have a long-term impact. Classical example is again Amazon delivery. I still intrigued, to learn more about Amazon, because their product is amazing. They have set a revolutionary strategies across industries. So they must have been doing the forecasting effectively. They will have a lot of data. Their reviews talks for themselves. They have an inbuilt reviews mechanisms. They don't have to look for it. People just pour in. Similarly, they get a verified purchaser. They give some freebies. They ask them to trial it out. So there are so many mechanisms they follow. Thereby, they're collecting data constantly and applying some analytics towards it. Maybe use AI or use some machine learning to, keep it learning. As and when you keep giving patterns, let it iron. I mean, as and when you give data point, let it iron out and identify those patterns and gives you the trends. Okay, thereby you can forecast the market demands way before your competitors. And you're also going to interpret that results. So converting the data insights just not end after you collect and you have done the analytics. What is after that? You're going to act on it. That is, in fact, here itself, you're a combination of both left brain and right brain happening. You're going to also interpret that result which is coming in by converting those things into actionable strategies. Okay. So you will get those predictions, but you're going to create a targeted 5-year plan. At least 5 years is long term. Okay. And after that, it's going to be an action plan. So the next one is the right brain. So far, we have spoken about left, right? We also have to take the right brain creativity also in with us. So the first thing that you can do is align your long-term decisions with that of your company values. Whether you're working for a company or you have your own business, there has to be a value system. For example, innovation first could be one values in any company. Okay. If that is so, then it is important for that leadership to define core values first. So what is innovation for you? That has to be translated to, your employees as well. So you're going to clearly articulate your company's fundamental principles and beliefs that guides your action. If innovation first, then you're going to prioritize all your solutions towards that. Then it becomes easy for you to follow it and for your customer to understand what you're offering, your employees to work for what you're offering. It becomes easy for everybody to align. And after you define your core values, you're also going to evaluate the decisions that you've taken aligning to your values by analyzing how each strategic choices and are reinforcing the core values. Very, very important to make that alignment now and then. For example, investing in employee training program demonstrates commitment to growth value. Am I right? If that commitment or if that growth is not measured, it's not happening, then there is some mismatch. Maybe the training program is not effective, or the people who are attending the program could be disengaged. So you can analyze that. Okay. Thereby, you can evaluate the long term effect of it. If that particular training program is not valuable at all based on the feedback that you're getting, you might want to revisit, discard it, and revisit for a new program. How you're able to do all this is because you can, you have that insight of whether you have a value match or not. You'll have to be constantly orient yourself towards that and be able to communicate that alignment as well. Regularly share with your stakeholders. It could be employees, it could be your boss, it could be your CEOs, or it could be a normal employee in your team. Okay, you need to embody that decisions and company values as a leader. Okay, a leader, not necessarily only the highest senior people. As a team manager, as an employee, also you can be a natural leader, embodying that value. So how you can do communication is by monthly updates to your team members, an email communication, or meeting people on a regular basis. Okay, that can instill the values in your employees. And then both the brain is also important. Sometimes you need to take both together. That can happen when you start consulting experts for long-term insights. Now let's see how both the brain are included here. One is analysis. You're going to take an industry analysis by talking, networking, right? Taking the deep market insights and competitive intelligence by, predicting the shifts towards electrical vehicles in automotive sector. So if that input has not been taken, then the other people who have not been, there could be only there could be only few people who pioneered. Okay, but if you're not um, being on that particular way of rendering business, maybe we just cannot be so unconventional. We will be alienated at all. So we need to adapt, for which we need to know the market trends. And then you are going to take your financial advices. Okay. Sometimes you may be in a delivery position. You may not really understand what is the costing happening. So taking a guidance on investment strategies and risk management is very, very important in order to mitigate and structure a 10-year portfolio. And thereby, you also have to diversify your plan by considering the emerging markets that can come from an advisor and as an outlook, okay, an outsider. But there are two, different tangential of business lines. So financial people will have an insight on finances, deeper and wider. But as a delivery manager, you may not be able to have that insight. So that is why integration is important. And thereby, technology experts integration is also needed. We may not be aware of that yet, but in their point of view, they would be taking a lot of market trends, analyzing on it, and they are an experts. That is why experts' advice is also important. And after you take everything, you're going to review and adapt it. Okay, you're going to have having taken that decision, you're going to have a regular review which can help you make sure that you are on track by taking a scheduled periodic assessments with that of a long-term strategies with the respective stakeholders and analyze that performance, adjust the course where it is needed. If you do this way, then you are marching towards experts and industries richest I would say people who are shakers and movers of the industries, like Mukesh Ambani. You would be able to demonstrate the skill set like these people and be able to adapt to their business models and success. Mukesh Ambani is an Indian billionaire businessman, very famous, who's managing not just, he has so many industries that he has business in, starting from petrochemicals, telecommunication, retail industry. So his diversification of business is also huge, and his knowledge and his legacy is also huge because his father was a legacy businessman. But when I was wondering about uh, how did how is their brain style working when they want to build huge success, when they are able to build huge success after success after success, investing in many industries, they're going wider, right, as well as deeper. So what helps them to have that kind of talent in technology, product development, research, everything in tandem? So, and moreover, what kind of brain skills would these experts have in order to bring that success in all spheres of life? So, my research was more towards to understand their left brain, right brain skills. And I understood that strategic planning, that is his left brain skills, helps in creating that data point to assess long-term potential of, for example, taking that mobile internet in India. Geo stands out in so many ways, and they are leading in telecommunication in India. Okay. So this happens because of a strategic planning. And then he's a visionary thinking, which is his right brain effective skill. He could anticipate the impact of digital connectivity on India's future. That is why they are unparalleled. Okay. So there is no match for Geo's the range of course, there are other competitors who are lining up, but their success is peaked. Okay. And again, bold investment is another key point here. He invested billions in 4G infrastructure for long-term market leadership. Building, you remember we spoke about infrastructure building. To be able to enable your transaction to go seamlessly well, you should have that larger exposure, larger expansion, and for which you need to have the necessary resources. But if you don't go extensive, if you don't go long, way, or expand yourself, then it will be only for a short gain. It won't have a sustainable growth. And how can we model this kind of a brain skills? So we're going to see some brain hacks, and you know and also some rewards for you where you can assess your brain skills by using a questionnaire. Thereby, you can also know what is your power, current power, and where are your areas of improvement. So, some brain hacks is how do you demonstrate those experts' advice in your life by balancing short term and long term goals. Short term goals, you'll have to address immediate needs and maintain current operations. For a long term vision, you're going to invest in future growth and sustainable competitive advantage. By integrating both, you're going to align the short term actions with that of long term planning. All right. So it is a balance of both short term and long term thinking. And you are also going to communicate this decision to your stakeholders. You're going to have a clear cut message articulating that long term vision and expected results. Only then there will be no confusion in people involved in it, so that you will have a seamless delivery. Even if it is family, as long as you're clear with your values and expectations, if you can translate this to your family members, the decision making becomes very, very easy. This is what we saw in the future episode, I mean, the previous episodes. And then you're going to address the outcomes, concerns. Okay. If you're clear with this, then all their concerns can be diverted and focused towards that particular message only. The rest, all concerns are all distractions. Okay. It becomes easy for other people also involved in it. There'll be less of friction, more of traction. Thereby, you're also going to give them a regular update. Okay, communication doesn't end at one point of time. It has to be a regular exercise. The reassurance has to be given. They want to see you. Okay, as a leader, they want to hear your voice. They want to listen to your thoughts. There has to be a constant communication. Then developing long-term mindset is also important in your team by leading by examples. Like, you have to embody, you got to demonstrate that long-term thinking in your own decision making, in your own daily transactions with your employees, in your email communication, or in your product development, in your launch, in your customer communication, in automation of the process, in dealing with your employee, in your employee communication. Everywhere you have to lead by example. Thereby, you're also going to encourage them to have a strategic thinking. You're going to provide opportunities for team members to contribute long-term planning. We've done good episodes on creative thinking, critical thinking, proactive thinking, problem solving, all those strategies. Innovative thinking is also there. So those episodes will give you the strategies as to how you're going to motivate, encourage the team members to also use those skill set. Okay, I would highly recommend you to go and watch that. And lastly, you're going to reward the long-term focus on it. Okay, you're going to celebrate not just the event, but at least their initiative of thinking for long term has to be recognized. And despite of doing it, you will still have some resistance. Okay, how do you overcome that? You're going to identify the source of resistance. You're going to understand why some stakeholders prefer short term gains. You're going to talk with them. It could be an employee who is disengaged, who's not value aligned. It could be a own family member. When you're dealing with some long term planning, you may find some friction. It is coming out from your child or from your spouse, from an elderly person. It could be many things, or even for your own resistance. You need to understand why are they looking for short term and not, good to look at long term. Then you're going to educate on long term benefits to them. You're going to clearly communicate the advantage of long term approach, making sure that you are also convinced. Okay, if you have the resistance, it's going to come out in your words. Then you're going to involve resistors in planning, pull them also in planning. That's the best hack. That way, the skeptical will be gone. If they are involved, they take the ownership. They will also start tuning into that long term thinking. I think this is the best hack. Okay. Then, how do you measure all that? How do you know that you're on track or not? You're going to identify, define the long term KPI, key performance indicators. That means it is working for you. You're going to have a, example like if it is a traditional business, you're going to have a customer lifetime value for 10 years. Check on that measure, take that feedback, take that satisfaction survey to understand how it is going on. Then if it is going to be digital, you're going to have a monthly, recurring revenue growth rate. You will understand with your data point how it is churning in profitability. Then you're going to track progress over time. Okay. Progress is what is important. There is no perfect destination over time. That can never happen. You cannot fix a destination on time. You can only fix a progress like day in and day out. Every time you can check for whether you've traveled from point A to point B. You still have time to, till you complete the point Z. But have you been traveling? That's all it takes. Okay. Then you're going to adjust the metrics if it is not happening. You're going to refine that measurement criteria to align that evolving business landscape. For example, if you want to shift that store revenue to omni-channel sales, or maybe hire a digital marketing person who can help you build the digital presence, and thereby you are also getting customers. You're getting visibility to your customer, and then you're also getting the customer's feedback by using their interface data point. Okay. Then at this point of time, if you have any questions as to how you're going to measure, what is your data usage, where are you aligned with your values and goals, how are you taking your accept consultation, expert consultation, or if do you have your contingency plan and what is your long-term risk mitigation plan? If you have those questions, at least, I'm not asking you to tell me what are your plans, but at least have you thought about all these in different angles? I have a questionnaire for you, don't worry. That can get you an insight as to what angles at least you should be looking out for. So that as an entrepreneur, it's really helping me also. So that kind of questionnaire, I can present it to you as a gift for you. Okay. It is not only for this episode. I'm going to give it to you for each and every episode. After listening to this episode, if you still want to think and go back and review what are your current skills, do you are you really having a hold of those angles in your business? Or if not, what do you have to do? I'm going to give you a questionnaire format where along with the right answer, wrong answer, you will also have a tips to area of improvement. So after this episode, you can also take that questionnaire for learning more. Okay, I'm going to give it to you as a bundle for all 100 episodes. It's going to take a little more time for me to create it, but a link is given in the description. Subscribe for it. Whenever it is available, you will get notified. But you need to do one thing, that you have to engage your top 3 insights that you learn from here. I've got 30 insights, 30 and more insights I can quote from this episode. I'm also learning. Okay. So if I see your learning points there, I'm going to, take you as a winner, and I'm going to ask you for your email ID. Thereby, I'm going to give you 100% free coupon code to use this EQ quest bundles, 100 quest bundles for free of cost. And also, I have a masterclass I invite all the women to attend if you want to go deeper and wider in this aspects of building emotional intelligence using your brain skills. And of course, there are free resources available on my YouTube channel. If you still haven't subscribed, please do so. And the Spotify audio channel is also there for you to listen to podcast. You can subscribe that. You will get notified for future episodes. There is Substack where I'm bringing EQ blocks as EQ sparks for you, some bulb on moments on EQ, where you can build emotional intelligence. And LinkedIn is given here for me to have a connection over there. So there are a lot of, Instagram is also there for you to have a short digestion of, reels kind of uh, reels on EQ. So all these are available for free of cost. Make use of it. As long as you have the ability to, imagine that the long term is what is going to help you for not only, just for a profit making. It is also important to create that kind of a legacy, right? At the end of the day, when you want to think about long term, even for family goals, what are we doing? We are going to help our generation, the next generation, to build their families and their life easily, right? So that is why we are doing a lot of things now. We are taking that sacrifice. We are making an hard work because they can live better. Similarly, for any business initiatives, you want to create that legacy. So the choices that you make today is what is going to drive your company future, whether you're part of that company, working for that company, or running that company. So you're going to merge that strategy thinking and emotional insight to drive yourself for a sustainable growth. Okay, because remember, smart decisions today is going to give you a sustainable income flow, success, everything tomorrow. Okay. All right. So if this episode resonates with you, please give me a love symbol, like symbol, and share it with somebody whom you think it's most needed. All right. I'll see you tomorrow with another interesting episode.